All right, welcome back to Technique WOD. Today we're talking about rowing. Okay, so I like rowing for a couple of reasons. A few of the basics. It's a super conservative way to train. If you're brand new to training and you want to be able to just do some monostructural cardio, you could go for a run or something like that. You could do some air dyne, you could row. Air dyning, rowing, those are probably much more conservative than even just going for a jog. You're less likely to trip and fall, sprain your ankle, get knee pain after a couple of weeks, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Hit by a car.
Get hit by a car. So it's a nice conservative way to get started if you are brand new to training, and especially if you have lower body joint pain. And, number two, especially for advanced athletes, I like it because it doesn't have a lot of stability demands and it's not exactly self-limiting. Self-limiting would be things like double unders. You get tired on double unders and then you start missing and then you have to take a break because you missed. Well, on rowing, there's no real opportunity to miss. You could take a break whenever you wanted to, but you can kind of just keep grinding it out even if your intensity keeps going down, just because you're not going to fall off of it. And if you quit, then you have to mentally actually stop moving. You're not going to miss like you do on double unders and have to take a break. So I like it for that reason because it has no stability demands, and it's not self-limiting. You can really dig yourself into a very deep metabolic hole where you're breathing really heavy, your heart rate is up, really, really high, and you can do some very hard intervals, and that's great training for your cardiovascular system, but it's not going to make you very sore at the same time because all the movements are concentric only, which basically means that you pull, and then on the way down, there's no resistance. So there's no resistance for your arms, and there's no resistance for your legs as you cycle back and recover from your pull. And then since there's no eccentric to the movement, and there's no resistance on the way back from your pull, on the recovery portion, it's not going to make you very sore, so you can do a lot of hard intervals and not really get very sore in the process, at least if you're in moderately good shape. If you're brand spanking new, you've never done anything, then maybe you get sore like the first time. But it's not going to make you very sore, so you can do it a lot, and you can do a recovery row, and it's not going to beat up your muscles or your joints that much. It's a very conservative way to train. So I like it for that reason. Basics on technique. First thing, and actually since these are totally out of place for me, I'll show you that too. As far as the straps go, you want to put them basically right over where your toes meet your feet. So for me, that's about right there. That might even be a little bit much for me. Yeah, about right there. That way, if my heel does come off the ground, this goes right over where my toes meet my foot, and so it can stay down. It's not pulling on my actual foot. All right, so first, basically all good weightlifting technique or any movement technique basically centers around having good posture. So especially when you're sitting, which is where people tend to think about good posture, you want to be right about here, okay? My heels are, for the most part, down. My knee is bent about 90 degrees. I'm sitting up nice and tall. My arms are straight. And then basics, I'm going to drive through my heels until my legs get straight. Then I'm going to pull with my arms. And then the exact opposite. My arms go forward, and then my knees kind of stick back through my arms. Okay, so it's always sitting nice and tall. I'm always legs, arms, arms, legs. Driving through my heels. Legs, arms, arms, legs. So that's the basics. A few things that people do wrong, starting with my feet. A lot of people, they'll come too far forward. Instead of getting to about right here or so, they'll come forward and they'll bring their heels up and they'll kind of bounce the seat off of their heels like this. And they'll even reach forward like that, and then they'll give it like this big long pull. Okay, like really, really extreme like this. Okay, you don't need your pull to be quite that long. Sure, you definitely want as long of a pull as you can with good technique, but you don't need to max out your range of motion by going into bad technique. It'd be like rounding your back on squatting and picking your heels up off the ground just to make the bar move further, even though you're doing the whole thing completely wrong. So you don't want to do that on rowing either. You do want to go forward with straight arms, just right until your heels start to come up. They don't need to come up like that, but just my heels are down here. They're going to come up a tiny bit, and I can lean forward, and then I get right here. My heels are down now. I can drive through my heels until my legs are straight, and then I can pull with my arms. All right, point number two, A lot of people bend their elbows too early. So if I'm here and I'm driving, I don't want to bend my arms before my knees are straight. I always want to have my legs go straight and then my arms finish the pull. I never want to get here and then pull with my arms before my legs are straight. That'd be like doing a deadlift where you're bending your elbows before your knees are, basically straight. You shouldn't bend your elbows at all on a deadlift. You should keep your arms all the way locked out straight. That way you can use the strength from your legs and the rest of your body, and your arms don't become your limiter. If you bend your elbows, well, now the strength that I have to keep my elbow bent becomes my limiter, as opposed to my straight arm and my legs becoming my limiter, okay? So I'm always stronger with straight arms, so I want to use everything I can from my legs and my back, and then finish with my arms, go back to straight, and then I can come back forward, okay? So that's point number 2. You always want to have straight arms as long as possible, just like you would on a deadlift and just like you would on a snatch or a clean and jerk. Point number 3, I want to sit up nice and tall. So if I'm here, I never want to be slouched or slumped over. I never want to be here. I see a lot of people, they shrug and they kind of pull. They usually don't even make it all the way to their chest. Not that you need to bang it into your chest, but you at least need to get semi-close. So I don't want to be slumped over. I want to sit up nice and tall, good posture. So I'm here, I'm not rounded. If I round over, I'm gonna get more back problems. It's gonna hurt my low back especially. I'm gonna get more shoulder problems because I'm gonna destabilize and roll forward like this. And then when I pull, it's hard for me to pull my shoulder blades together if I'm all rounded over. So I wanna sit up nice and tall. That way when I go to pull, my shoulder blades can move back. Okay, my shoulder blades need to come back, and then my elbows come back, and my elbows stay in. I don't want to come with my shoulders forward and my elbows out like this with a round back. I want to be nice and tall. Nice and tall, shoulders back, elbows down and sucked in. And then I can come forward and come out like that. So that goes for any time you do any type of rowing, whether it's on a rower, whether you're doing any type of horizontal pulling, which a lot of people call rows, whether you're doing like a bent over barbell row or a ring row. I'm going to pull here, and I never want to be slumped over pulling like this, okay? That's bad technique no matter what you're pulling on, the rower included, okay? So I want to have nice, tall posture at all times. One more quick point about sitting up nice and tall. When I'm sitting up nice and tall with a straight neutral spine, which, that's a good term for rowing as well, even though you mostly hear it with respect to, deadlift, squats, and Olympic weightlifting, snatches, cleans, and whatnot. I want to have a nice, tall, neutral spine here, and then I still always want to pivot at my hip. I don't want to flex and extend at my back. That's a universal movement law, if you will, okay? So when I come forward, if I'm here, as I come forward and I want to reach a little bit, I don't want to round to get more range of motion, okay? A lot of people, they'll round here and then they'll pull and they'll sit up straight when they get back here, and then they'll come forward and they'll try to get a little more range of motion and they'll destabilize and they'll round, okay? I want to keep good posture when I'm forward, come forward at my hip. Maybe I get a tiny bit of flexion, but it's minor with my spine. So I'm here, then I'm driving, and when I get to here, again, same thing. I'm just going to pivot at my hip a little bit, okay? My spine stays neutral, and I'm pivoting at the hip, okay? So I'm here, I lean forward, pivot and pull, arms, my knees come through the window, just like that. I never pull here and then move my knees and then move the handle around my knees, okay? I drive with my knees, I pull with my arms go forward, knees come through the window, I pivot at the hip, and then I drive again. Right to here, forward, knees come through the window again, okay? Never like this, okay? And let's see if I can do it that's probably more realistic of what you'll see. They'll kind of go like this, okay? You want to go forward and then here. All right, so I'm going to talk about my own bad habit here, and you've probably already seen me do it. When I pull, the chain comes straight out, and then when I go back, I want it to go straight in, okay? Straight out and straight in. What I don't want to do, and this is a minor thing, but it's a bad habit that I have, and I see a lot of people do it, is they come out and then they track along, almost like they're actually rowing a boat. So it's not necessarily like the worst thing in the world. It's a minor point. but it's a little detail that might help you get a little bit of a better time on your 500 or your 2K row, excuse me. All right, next point is especially relevant if you're doing a very short race, if you're doing like a 300-meter row for time or a 500 row for time, especially if you're a big, strong, powerful person. You don't want to pull hard. If I get a few rows in here. If you start pulling hard and then you start coming forward real fast, you see people going like this. And then if you actually watch down there, you'll see it move a little bit. Okay? The rower should never jump around, okay? If it's moving on the ground, then you're using your energy to actually move the rower, not to pull the handle to move the flywheel to make your meters keep counting, okay? You're wasting energy. So what you want to do instead is you're always here, you pull hard, and then you relax. You pull hard, relax. Pull hard, relax. So if you're doing, a 500-meter row, your strokes per minute is probably going to be in the 20s. It might be 25 or 27. You shouldn't be pulling so many reps. If you're pulling hard and then you're coming forward as fast as you can, then your stroke rate is going to be too fast. You might be able to lower your stroke rate by keeping your time, your speed, the exact same, which will over time help you save energy. All right, now that I've recovered. All right, as far as your grip goes, these handles they're not sticky, but they have a lot of friction. They're pretty grippy, so you don't have to grab onto these really hard. It's not like a barbell that's gonna roll out of your hand. It's not going anywhere, so you can be pretty loose and relaxed with your grip. You want your thumbs around it, but you don't need to squeeze at all. In fact, I could probably just be like this, and I could still probably row pretty well, even just with my fingers barely hooked over it and my thumbs kind of just hanging there. You don't want to do that, but that shows that you don't have to squeeze really hard to get a good grip on here. So just wrap your thumbs around and then nice and super loose here. That way especially if you're rowing a longer race, that way your forearms don't fatigue and that doesn't become an issue for you at all, especially if you're rowing rather, a 5K, 6K, 10K. That's a long time to be gripping something constantly, so you don't want to be squeezing barely at all. Just let your hands hang nice and loose. Let your fingers do most of the work. Your thumbs will be wrapped around it, but really your thumbs aren't going to be doing a whole lot. And you can just be hanging on the ends of your fingers. One more thing is where the handle is going to hit on your body, you want to pull it straight back into you. And usually for most people, that's going to hit right at the bottom of their sternum or right at the top of their abs, kind of the first two of your shredded six-pack. It's going to hit right there, okay? So what you don't want to do is pull super low where you're hitting yourself down by the belly button, and you also don't want to pull way up towards your neck like this just to get a longer pull. I see people doing that sometimes. They'll lean way back and they'll pull like this, and they'll try to get like the longest pull they can, which only lasts for so long. You're gonna get tired really quick like that. So you want to pull, again, straight back into you, which usually, if the chain is totally parallel to the ground and it's not going down and it's not going up, then it's probably going to hit you right about right below your sternum, and that's the perfect spot for it to hit. That being said, you don't need to like slam it into you every time. It's just going to come, maybe gently touch, maybe just get like right up to it, but you shouldn't have a bruise on your chest after you get done rowing. Okay, we get this question a lot too. What damper setting should you put it on? There's this 1 to 10 scale on the side of the wheel here. So which setting is going to be the best for you? This isn't resistance, so it doesn't mean that 10 is the most resistance necessarily and 1 is the least resistance necessarily, although there will be a change in resistance and 10 does tend to be a little harder, but that's not really what it exactly is for. The damper lets more air in if it's up on 10 and less air in if it's down on 1. So even though it's more resistance up at the 10, if you're a big, strong person, a very powerful person, if you're a guy that back squats, 400 or 500 pounds and you're 6'2" and you're just a bigger, stronger, more powerful person, and you happen to be in really good shape where you can maintain that power output for a long period of time, then maybe you want to go with a higher number. The shorter the race, the more powerful you're going to be pulling, the higher the number, a higher number will help your meters accumulate faster, okay? If you're going to be doing a much longer workout and or you just happen not to be as big and as strong as some other athletes. You know, if you're a 125 pound female and you back squat 200 pounds as opposed to the 6'2", 400, 500 pound squatter that I just mentioned, then it might be better for you to maybe be down maybe on like a 4 or 5, for a 500, or a 1K, or maybe even a little bit lower if you're going longer than that. So overgeneralize. If you're big and strong, you can go higher. If you are not quite as big and strong, then you can go lower. That's the easiest way to think about it. There are tests available to find out your perfect damper setting. We're not going to talk about those right now, but you can use the Googles and find those. All right, that's it for the row series. If you want to see the rest of our technique WOD videos, you can go to barbellshrugged.com, click on the episodes tab at the top of the page. You get a little pop-down menu, click on technique WODs. All the videos are in the library. I'll see you another day.